Listen carefully. Most people are not weak because of their circumstances. They are weak because they cannot control their emotions. They react, they panic, they seek approval. And in doing so, they give the world control over their mind. But there is another way, a way where insults don't touch you, pressure doesn't break you, and chaos doesn't control you. This is the Stoic path. Not soft, not emotional, not reactive. If you master these habits, you become untouchable. Listen carefully. This is where most people lose control of their lives. Not in big decisions, not in life-changing moments, but in the small emotional reactions they never learn to control. Someone says something disrespectful. You react. Something doesn't go your way. You react. You feel ignored. You react. And every reaction is a loss of power. Understand this clearly. If you react to everything, you control nothing. Most people live like this every day. They are pulled by emotions like puppets on strings. Anger pulls them. Fear pushes them. Ego controls them, and they don't even realize it. They think they are in control, but they are not. They are predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Now listen carefully. A Stoic does not react. A Stoic observes. There is a moment, a very small moment, between what happens and how you respond. Most people never see it because they are too fast, too emotional, too automatic. But that moment, that pause, that is where your power lives. Repeat this. Pause is power. Again, pause is power. When something happens, don't react immediately. Pause. Watch what you feel. Observe your thoughts like an outsider. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this? Is this worth my energy? Am I about to lose control? This is the difference between weak minds and disciplined minds. Imagine this. Someone insults you. The average person reacts instantly. They defend themselves. They raise their voice. They try to prove something. But what are they really doing? They are giving control to the other person, because now their emotions are being controlled externally. Now look at the Stoic. He hears the insult. He pauses. He observes. He thinks, this is just sound, words, air vibrations. And then he decides, does this deserve my response? Most of the time, the answer is no. And in that moment, he wins. Not because he said something powerful, because he didn't need to. Understand this deeply. The person who controls their reaction controls the situation. Not the loudest person, not the most emotional one, the calm one. The one who can stand still while chaos is happening around them. That is power. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Reacting feels good. Yes, it feels good to argue, to defend yourself, to release anger. It gives you temporary relief. But long-term, it destroys your discipline. It weakens your mind. It makes you dependent on emotion. Stoics don't chase relief. They train control. Let me tell you something important. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And if your habit is reacting, then under pressure, you will always lose control. That's why this must be trained daily, consciously, relentlessly. Start with small things. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Pause. Don't react. Observe. Feel the anger, but don't act on it. Let it pass. Someone ignores your message. Pause. Don't assume. Don't react. Observe your thoughts trying to create stories. Let them go. Something doesn't go your way. Pause. Instead of complaining, observe the situation like a strategist. Ask, what can I control here? This is how emotional strength is built, not in theory, but in repetition. At first, it will feel unnatural. You will want to react. Your mind will push you. Your ego will scream, say something, do something, defend yourself. But this is the test. Can you stay still when everything inside you wants to move? Can you stay silent when everything inside you wants to speak? This is discipline. This is stoicism. Let me make this very clear. You are not your emotions. You experience them, but you are not controlled by them. Anger is not you. Fear is not you. Frustration is not you. They are temporary. They come and they go. But if you react to them, you make them permanent. You give them power. The Stoic way is different. You feel everything, but you are controlled by nothing. Read that again. You feel everything, but you are controlled by nothing. And this is how you become dangerous. Because now, no one can trigger you. No one can manipulate you. No one can control your state. You become steady, unshakable, untouchable. So from this moment forward, train the pause. Every reaction, delay it. Every emotion, observe it. Every situation, analyze it. Do not rush. Do not react. Do not lose control. Because the moment you stop reacting is the moment you start leading. Repeat this one last time. Pause is power. And power belongs to those who can control themselves.
Listen carefully. This habit alone destroys more lives than failure ever could. The need for approval, the silent addiction to being liked, to being accepted, to being validated by people who are just as lost as you. Most people don't live their lives. They perform. They adjust their personality, change their opinions, hide their truth, all for one thing: approval. A nod, a compliment, a well done. And for a moment, it feels good. But understand this clearly. Approval is a trap. Repeat that. Approval is a trap. Because the moment you need approval, you lose freedom. Now your actions are no longer yours. They belong to others. You speak based on what will be accepted. You act based on what will be praised. You decide based on what will be approved. And slowly, without realizing it, you disappear. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. People don't respect those who seek approval. They tolerate them. They use them. They control them. Because approval-seeking people are predictable. And predictable people are easy to manipulate. Think about it. If someone knows you need validation, they can control your behavior. They can give you approval or take it away, and you will adjust accordingly. This is not strength. This is dependency. A Stoic understands this deeply. They don't seek approval. They seek alignment. Alignment with their values, with their principles, with their purpose. And that is enough. Imagine this. You say something honest, something real, and people don't like it. The average person panics. They backtrack. They apologize. They try to fix their image. But the Stoic, he stands still. He asks, was I truthful? Was I aligned with my values? If the answer is yes, then nothing else matters. Not opinions, not reactions, not approval. This is what makes someone powerful. Not popularity, not validation, but independence. Understand this. The more you need approval, the less control you have. And the less control you have, the weaker you become. Look at your own life. How many decisions were not truly yours? How many times did you stay silent because you were afraid of judgment? How many times did you say yes when you wanted to say no? This is the cost of approval. It steals your voice. It weakens your identity. It turns you into a version of yourself designed for others. Stoics refuse this life. They accept a hard truth. Not everyone will like you, and that's not a problem. That's freedom. Because the moment you accept that, you stop performing. You stop pretending. You stop filtering yourself through others' opinions, and you start living as you are. Now listen carefully. This does not mean you become arrogant. It does not mean you ignore everyone. It means you stop depending on external validation. There is a difference. A Stoic listens, but is not controlled. A Stoic considers feedback, but does not submit to it. A Stoic respects others, but does not need their approval to exist. This is inner authority, and it changes everything. Let me give you a simple example. You post something online. You check the likes, the comments, the reactions. If they are good, you feel good. If they are bad, you feel bad. Your emotional state is now controlled by strangers. Think about that. Strangers control your mood. This is what approval does. Now imagine the opposite. You post it, and you move on. No checking, no attachment, no dependency. Your mood stays stable because your worth is not tied to external response. That is power. But killing the need for approval is not easy because it is deeply wired into you. Since childhood, you were rewarded for pleasing others, punished for standing out, taught to behave, to fit in, to be accepted. So now, breaking this habit feels uncomfortable, even painful. But that discomfort is growth. That resistance is freedom trying to emerge. Start small. Speak your opinion, even if it's not popular. Say no without explaining yourself. Make decisions without asking for validation. At first, it will feel strange. You will feel judged. You will feel exposed. Good. That means you are breaking the pattern. And over time, something powerful happens. You stop fearing rejection. You stop chasing approval. You stop needing permission. And you become independent. Let me say this clearly. When you no longer need approval, you become dangerous. Because now, no one can control you. No one can manipulate your behavior. No one can use validation as a weapon against you. You act based on principle, not pressure. You move based on purpose, not popularity. You speak truth, not what is safe. And this is rare, very rare, because most people will never escape the need to be liked, but you can, if you decide, right now. So from this moment forward, stop seeking approval. Stop performing. Stop adjusting yourself to fit into expectations that were never yours. Instead, stand firm. Act with integrity. Speak with honesty. Move with purpose. And repeat this. Approval is a trap. Again, approval is a trap. And freedom belongs to those who no longer need it.
Listen carefully. There is a voice in your head that never stops talking. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, it speaks, it judges, it complains, it doubts, it fears, and most people never question it. They believe it. Every word, every thought, every story it creates. And because of that, they don't control their life. Their thoughts do. Understand this clearly. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest enemy. There is no middle ground. Most people are controlled by their inner dialogue. They wake up thinking, "I'm tired. This is too hard. Why is this happening to me?" And these thoughts shape their actions, which shape their results, which shape their life. This is how weakness is built, not in one big moment, but in thousands of small thoughts, repeated daily. Now listen carefully. A Stoic does not trust every thought. A Stoic questions it, observes it, controls it, because they understand something powerful. Not every thought deserves your attention. Repeat that. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your mind produces noise, endless noise, fear, doubt, negativity. But just because a thought appears does not mean it is true. Imagine this. You fail at something. Instantly your mind says, "You're not good enough. You always fail. Why even try?" Most people accept this. They feel it, they believe it, and they stop. But the Stoic? He pauses. He observes the thought, and he asks, is this fact or just emotion? Most of the time, it's just emotion, and emotion is temporary. This is where control begins, not by stopping thoughts, but by choosing which ones to believe. Let me say this clearly. You cannot control what thoughts appear, but you can control which ones you keep. This is the discipline. This is the training. Your inner dialogue must be rewritten, consciously, relentlessly. When your mind says, "This is too hard," you respond, "This is training." When your mind says, "I can't handle this," you respond, "I will adapt." When your mind says, "Why is this happening to me?" you respond, "This is happening for me." This is not motivation. This is control. Because the way you speak to yourself determines the way you experience reality. Weak inner dialogue creates weak actions. Strong inner dialogue creates strong actions. And here is the truth most people ignore. You are listening to yourself more than anyone else, all day, every day. So if your inner voice is weak, your life will be weak. A Stoic trains this voice, like a commander trains a soldier, strict, disciplined, uncompromising. There is no room for self-pity, no room for excuses, no room for emotional chaos, because every weak thought is a crack in your foundation. And under pressure, cracks break. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up, and your inner voice says, "Stay focused, stay calm, handle it." You face problems, and your mind says, "This is nothing. I've handled worse. Keep moving." What happens then? Your actions change. Your energy changes. Your presence changes. And over time, your entire identity changes. This is how Stoics build unshakable minds, not by avoiding difficulty, but by controlling their interpretation of it. Let me give you a powerful truth. Events don't control you. Your interpretation of events controls you. Two people face the same problem. One breaks, one grows. Why? Different inner dialogue. One says, "This is unfair." The other says, "This is an opportunity." One complains, the other adapts. Same situation, different mind, different outcome. This is why controlling your inner dialogue is everything. But understand this. This requires awareness. You must catch your thoughts in real time. When negativity appears, pause. Observe it. Do not let it run unchecked. Ask, is this helping me or weakening me? If it's weakening you, replace it immediately. This is not optional. This is necessary. Because if you don't control your mind will control you. And an uncontrolled mind is unstable, reactive, weak. But a controlled mind is calm, focused, unbreakable. Let me make this simple. Your thoughts are instructions, and your life is the result of following them. So if your instructions are weak, your results will be weak. Change the instructions,
change the outcome. From this moment forward, become aware of your inner voice. Do not let it speak without discipline. Do not let it create chaos. Do not let it weaken you. Instead, train it, guide it, command it, because you are not here to be controlled by your mind. You are here to control it. Repeat this. Your thoughts shape your reality. Again, your thoughts shape your reality, and reality belongs to those who can control their mind.
Listen carefully. This is where most suffering begins, not in reality, but in expectation. You expect people to understand you. You expect life to go your way. You expect effort to always be rewarded. And when it doesn't happen, you feel frustrated, disappointed, angry. But here is the truth. Life did not promise you anything. Repeat that. Life owes you nothing. Expectation is the silent architect of disappointment. The more you expect, the more you suffer. Think about it. You expect respect, and when someone disrespects you, you react. You expect loyalty, and when someone betrays you, you break. You expect success, and when you fail, you collapse. But what is really happening? Reality is not hurting you. Your expectations are. A Stoic understands this deeply. They remove expectations and replace them with acceptance. Acceptance does not mean weakness. It does not mean giving up. It means seeing reality clearly without emotional resistance, because resistance creates suffering. Let me explain. When something goes wrong, most people say, "This shouldn't have happened." And in that sentence, they create pain, because now they are fighting reality, and reality always wins. The Stoic does something different. They say, "This happened." No drama, no resistance, no emotional reaction, just clarity. And from that clarity comes power. Understand this. What you resist controls you. What you accept frees you. Acceptance is not passive. It is strategic. When you accept reality, you stop wasting energy in denial. You stop complaining. You stop wishing things were different. And you start asking, what now? This is where control returns. Imagine this. You lose an opportunity. Most people react emotionally. They complain, they blame, they dwell. But the Stoic? He accepts it instantly, no resistance. And then he moves. Because he understands, the faster you accept reality, the faster you can act within it. Now listen carefully. This does not mean you expect nothing forever. It means you stop attaching your emotional state to outcomes. You still work, you still aim, you still strive, but you are not shaken when things don't go your way. Because you already understand, things will go wrong, people will disappoint you, plans will fail. And that's not a tragedy, that's life. Repeat this. Expectation is premeditated disappointment. Again, expectation is premeditated disappointment. When you expect less, you suffer less, and when you accept more, you become stronger. Let me give you a powerful shift. Instead of expecting comfort, expect difficulty. Instead of expecting fairness, expect challenge. Instead of expecting ease, expect resistance. Now what happens? When difficulty comes, you are not shocked. When life gets hard, you are not broken. When things go wrong, you are ready. This is mental preparation. This is Stoic strength. Because the problem is not that life is hard. The problem is that you expected it to be easy, and that expectation made you weak. Now imagine the opposite. You wake up every day prepared for challenge, prepared for resistance, prepared for discomfort. Now when it happens, you don't panic, you don't react, you don't break, you adapt. And adaptation is power. Let me say this clearly. The strongest people are not those who avoid difficulty, but those who accept it instantly. because acceptance removes emotional delay, and emotional delay is what keeps most people stuck. They spend days, weeks, even years fighting reality instead of moving forward. A Stoic does not waste time like this. They see clearly, accept quickly, act immediately. That is the difference. Now apply this to everything. Someone disrespects you? Accept it. Then decide your response calmly. You fail at something? Accept it. Then analyze and improve. Life doesn't go your way. Accept it. Then adjust your strategy. No drama, no resistance, no emotional chaos. Just clarity. And clarity creates control. Let me remind you, you don't control what happens, you control how you respond. And response begins with acceptance. From this moment forward, stop expecting life to be fair. Stop expecting people to behave how you want. Stop expecting things to go your way. Instead, expect nothing. Accept everything. And in that acceptance, you will find something powerful. Peace, clarity, strength. Because nothing can disturb you if you are not resisting it. Repeat this one last time. Expectation is premeditated disappointment. And freedom belongs to those who accept reality exactly as it is.
Listen carefully. This is where anxiety is born. Not from effort, but from attachment. You work hard, but you're obsessed with the result. You try your best, but you're afraid of failure. You take action, but your mind is trapped in what if. And because of that, you are never at peace. Understand this clearly. You control effort, not outcome. Repeat that. You control effort, not outcome. Most people get this wrong. They think control means guaranteeing results, but it doesn't. Control means mastering your actions, not the consequences. Outcomes are influenced by too many variables: other people, timing, circumstances, luck, things you cannot control. And the moment you attach yourself to something you cannot control, you create anxiety. Think about it. You go into an interview and you desperately want the job. Now your mind is racing. What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if I mess up? Your performance drops. Your confidence weakens. Because you are not focused on the present, you are trapped in the outcome. Now imagine the Stoic. He prepares. He shows up. He gives his best. But mentally, he is detached. He tells himself, I will do my part. The rest is not mine. And because of that, he is calm, focused, sharp. This is the power of detachment. Let me say this clearly. Attachment creates pressure. Detachment creates performance. When you are attached, you fear loss. When you fear loss, you hesitate. And hesitation kills execution. But when you are detached, you move freely. You act without fear. You perform without pressure. Because you are not trying to control the result. You are focused on the process. This is how elite performers think. Not just Stoics, athletes, leaders, warriors. They don't obsess over winning. They obsess over execution. Because they understand something most people don't. Winning is a byproduct of focus, not obsession. Now, listen carefully. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It means you don't depend. There is a difference. You still want success. You still aim high. You still work hard. But your emotional state is not controlled by the result. If you win, you stay calm. If you lose, you stay calm. Because your identity is not tied to outcomes. This is freedom. Most people ride emotional waves. Success, they feel powerful. Failure, they feel worthless. But the Stoic, stable.
always, because they are rooted in effort, not outcome. Let me give you a simple truth. If your happiness depends on results, you will always be unstable, because results are unstable. They change, they fluctuate, they come and go. But effort? Effort is always available. Effort is always in your control, so anchor yourself there. Focus on what you can do right now, not what might happen later, because the present is the only place you have power. Think about how much energy you waste worrying about outcomes, imagining scenarios, replaying fears. All of that is useless, because none of it changes the result, but it destroys your focus. A Stoic eliminates this waste. They cut off unnecessary thinking. They stay present, and presence is power. Let me show you something deeper. Attachment is not just about success. It's about everything. You get attached to people, to opinions, to expectations, and when things don't go your way, you suffer. Why? Because you were attached. Detach, and you remove suffering. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You give your best and let go. Repeat this. Do the work and release the outcome. Again, do the work and release the outcome. This is the Stoic formula. Simple, but powerful. And here is what happens when you live this way. You become fearless, because fear is always tied to losing something. But if you are not attached, there is nothing to lose. So you act boldly, speak freely, move decisively. And that confidence comes from detachment. Let me make this very clear. Attachment are the more attached you become, because now anything can disturb you, anything can break your focus, anything can control your emotions. But when you detach, you become solid, unshakable, untouchable. Now apply this to your life. Work hard, but don't obsess over results. Build relationships, but don't depend on them for your happiness. Set goals, but don't tie your identity to achieving them, because you are more than outcomes. You are your discipline, your effort, your consistency. That is what defines you. From this moment forward, stop chasing results. Start mastering effort. Stop worrying about what might happen. Focus on what you can do right now. And repeat this one last time. You control effort, not outcome. And power belongs to those who can let go of what they cannot control.
Listen carefully. Most people talk too much, not because they have something valuable to say, but because they are uncomfortable with silence. They fill every gap, explain every thought, defend every action, and in doing so, they reveal everything. Understand this clearly. The more you speak, the less power your words carry. Repeat that. The more you speak, the less power your words carry. Words are energy, and when you use them carelessly, you weaken your presence. Look around. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most respected. Why? Because constant talking signals something deeper. Insecurity, a need to prove, a need to be heard, a need to matter. But a Stoic moves differently, speaks less, observes more, because they understand something powerful. Silence is strength. Repeat it. Silence is strength. Silence creates mystery. Silence builds authority. Silence forces others to pay attention. When you don't speak immediately, people lean in. They wonder. They listen more carefully when you finally do speak. This is influence, not through noise, but through control. Let me give you a simple example. In an argument, Most people rush to respond. They interrupt, they defend, they escalate. But the Stoic pauses, listens fully, says nothing, and that silence changes the dynamic. Now the other person feels exposed. Now they keep talking. Now they reveal more than they should. And when the Stoic finally speaks, it is calm, precise, unshaken. That is power. Let me say this clearly. You don't win arguments by talking more. You win by staying in control. And control begins with silence. Now understand this. Not everything deserves a response. Not every comment needs your energy. Not every situation requires your words. Most things are better ignored. But people struggle with this because silence feels like weakness. They think, if I don't respond, I lose. If I stay quiet, I look weak. But the opposite is true. Silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. And restraint is a sign of strength, because it takes discipline to not react, to not speak, to not prove yourself. Anyone can talk. Very few can stay silent when their ego is triggered. That is the test. Can you stay quiet when someone disrespects you? Can you hold your words when you feel the urge to explain? Can you remain calm when others are emotional? This is mastery. Now listen carefully. This does not mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention. A Stoic does not avoid words. They sharpen them. They speak when necessary. And when they do, every word matters. No filler, no emotion, no unnecessary explanation. Just clarity. This is why their words carry weight, because they are rare. Let me give you another truth. Talking too much exposes your weaknesses. The more you speak, the more chances you give others to analyze you, to judge you, to use your words against you. But when you are silent, you control the information. You observe, you learn, you understand, and understanding is power. Think about leaders, real leaders. They don't rush to speak. They listen first. They assess. They think. And when they finally speak, everyone pays attention, because silence created value. Now apply this to your life. In conversations, speak less. Listen more. In conflict, pause. Don't rush to respond. In emotional situations, stay quiet. Let the moment pass. Because most things said in emotion are later regretted. Silence protects you from that. Let me make this simple. If it's not necessary, don't say it. This alone will change your life. You will avoid unnecessary conflict. You will appear more confident. You will gain more respect, because people value those who don't waste words. And here is something deeper. Silence is not just external, it is internal. Your mind is also noisy. Constant thoughts, constant reactions, constant distractions. A Stoic practices inner silence. They reduce mental noise. They slow down thoughts. They create space. And in that space, they find clarity. Because a quiet mind makes better decisions. A noisy mind creates chaos. So train both. External silence, internal silence. Speak less, think clearly, act precisely. From this moment forward, control your words. Do not speak to impress. Do not speak to prove. Do not speak out of emotion. Speak only when necessary. And when you do, speak with purpose. Repeat this one last time. Silence is strength, and strength belongs to those who can remain quiet when others cannot.
Listen carefully. Everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. But most people spend their entire lives avoiding it.
They avoid pain. They avoid effort. They avoid struggle. And because of that, they stay the same. Understand this clearly. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Repeat that. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Your mind is designed to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable, to avoid anything difficult. But safety does not create strength. Comfort does not build discipline. Only discomfort does. Look at your life. Every time you chose comfort, you delayed growth. You avoided effort. You postponed action. You stayed where you were. But every time you faced discomfort, you improved. You adapted. You became stronger. This is not coincidence. This is law. A Stoic understands this deeply. They don't run from discomfort. They train in it. Because they know hardship is training. Repeat it. Hardship is training. When things are difficult, most people complain. They resist. They look for escape. But the Stoic, they lean in. They say, "This is good." Not because it feels good, but because it builds them. Let me explain something powerful. Your tolerance for discomfort determines your level of success. If you can only handle easy situations, you will live an easy life. Limited, predictable. But if you can handle pressure, pain, uncertainty, you become capable of more. This is why discipline matters, not motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discomfort stays. So if you rely on motivation, you will quit when things get hard. But if you train yourself to endure discomfort, you will continue when others stop. And that is where separation happens. Now listen carefully. Discomfort comes in many forms. Physical discomfort, waking up early, training your body, pushing your limits. Mental discomfort, focusing when you don't feel like it, working when you're tired, staying disciplined when it's boring. Emotional discomfort, facing rejection, handling criticism, standing alone. Most people avoid all three, but a Stoic embraces them because they understand the more discomfort you can handle, the less life can disturb you. Think about that. If you train yourself to endure, then what can shake you? Stress? You've handled worse. Failure? You've learned from it. Pain? You've built tolerance. This is how you become unshakable. Now here is the truth most people ignore. Discomfort never disappears. It doesn't matter how successful you become. There will always be pressure, always be challenges, always be resistance. So the goal is not to eliminate discomfort. The goal is to become stronger than it. Let me say this clearly. You don't grow when it's easy. You grow when it's hard. And if you avoid what's hard, you avoid growth. Now imagine this. Two people face the same challenge. One avoids it, makes excuses, waits for a better time. The other steps into it, uncomfortable, uncertain, but willing. Months later, their lives look completely different. One stayed the same. The other evolved. Why? One chose comfort. The other chose growth. This is the difference. Now apply this to your daily life. Wake up when you don't feel like it. Work when you don't feel motivated.
push when your body says stop, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. This is how discipline is built. And discipline creates freedom. Because once you control yourself, nothing else can control you. Let me give you a powerful mindset shift. Stop asking, is this comfortable? Start asking, is this making me stronger? That question alone will change your decisions. And your decisions shape your life. Now understand this. Pain is temporary. Growth is permanent. Most people focus on the pain and miss the growth. A Stoic focuses on the growth and accepts the pain because they know the pain will pass, but the strength will stay. So from this moment forward, stop running from discomfort. Stop avoiding difficulty. Stop choosing the easy path. Instead, seek challenge. Embrace resistance. Train your mind to stay steady under pressure. Because the more you endure, the more powerful you become. Repeat this one last time. Hardship is training, and strength belongs to those who do not break when things get hard.
Listen carefully. This is one of the biggest emotional weaknesses most people never overcome. They take everything personally. A comment feels like an attack. A look feels like judgment. A mistake feels like failure. And because of that, they are constantly disturbed. Understand this clearly. Most things are not about you. Repeat that. Most things are not about you. But your mind makes it about you. Someone is in a bad mood. You think it's because of you. Someone criticizes something. You feel attacked. Someone ignores you. You assume rejection. This is not reality. This is interpretation. And your interpretation is creating your suffering. A Stoic sees things differently. They don't personalize everything. They step back. They observe. They understand something powerful. People act based on their own world, not yours. Their experiences, their emotions, their insecurities, their beliefs. Everything they say and do is filtered through that. So when someone insults you, it says more about them than it does about you. But most people don't see this. They absorb everything. They carry it. They replay it in their mind. And slowly, they weaken themselves. Let me say this clearly. If you take everything personally, you give everyone control over your emotions. Think about that. Anyone can ruin your mood. Anyone can disturb your peace. Anyone can trigger you. That is not strength. That is vulnerability. A Stoic refuses this. They understand not every comment deserves attention. Not every opinion deserves importance. Not every action deserves reaction. So they detach. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you. The average person reacts emotionally. They defend, they argue, they feel hurt. But the Stoic, he pauses. He asks, is this true? If it is true, he improves. If it is not, he ignores. No emotion, no attachment, no disturbance. This is power. Because now you are no longer controlled by others' opinions. Let me give you a deeper truth. When you take things personally, you assume everything is about you. And that is ego, not strength, not awareness. Ego says, they're talking about me.
They're judging me. They're attacking me. But reality says they are expressing themselves, and that is all. Most people are too focused on themselves to be focused on you. Think about it. You are constantly thinking about your own life, your own problems, your own concerns. So are they. So why assume everything is about you? This assumption creates unnecessary pain. A Stoic removes it. They see things clearly, without emotional distortion. Now listen carefully. This does not mean you ignore everything. It means you filter. You take what is useful, you discard what is not, without emotional reaction. This is discipline, because your emotions should not be triggered by everything. They should be controlled, directed, chosen. Let me make this simple. Not everything deserves your energy, and energy is your most valuable resource. So why waste it on opinions that don't matter, on people who don't understand you, on situations that don't define you? A Stoic protects their energy. They do not react to every comment. They do not internalize every opinion. They do not carry unnecessary weight. They move light, focused, unbothered. This is emotional freedom. Now imagine your life if you stopped taking things personally. Criticism wouldn't break you. Rejection wouldn't stop you. Opinions wouldn't control you. You would move freely, act confidently, stay calm, because nothing external would have power over you. This is what it means to be untouchable. Let me give you a final shift. When something happens, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What does this actually mean?" Most of the time, the answer is nothing. And in that nothing, you find peace. From this moment forward, stop personalizing everything. Stop assuming. Stop reacting. Instead, observe, analyze, detach, and repeat this. It's not personal. Again, it's not personal. Because the moment you stop taking things personally is the moment you stop being controlled by others. And control belongs to those who remain unaffected by what was never about them.
Listen carefully. Most people think they are free, but they are not. They are controlled by what they want, desire. It looks harmless, it feels natural, but uncontrolled, it becomes a chain. You want attention, you want validation, you want comfort, you want more and more and more. And because of that, you are never at peace. Understand this clearly. Desire is a leash. Repeat that. Desire is a leash. Whatever you strongly desire controls you. If you need approval, you are controlled by opinions. If you need comfort, you are controlled by ease. If you need success immediately, you are controlled by impatience. And control means vulnerability. Because now your emotional state depends on whether you get what you want. If you get it, you feel good. If you don't, you feel frustrated. This is instability. A Stoic refuses to live like this. They don't eliminate desire completely. They discipline it, because they understand the less you need, the more powerful you become. Think about that. If you don't need validation, no one can manipulate you. If you don't need comfort, no situation can weaken you. If you don't need constant success, failure cannot break you. This is freedom. Now look at the opposite. If you crave attention, you will act to get it. If you crave approval, you will adjust to receive it. If you crave comfort, you will avoid growth. And slowly, without realizing it, you lose control of your life. Because your actions are no longer yours. they are driven by desire. Let me say this clearly. Uncontrolled desire creates dependence, and dependence destroys strength. A Stoic trains themselves to want less, not because they can't have more, but because they don't need more. This is a mindset shift. Most people chase more money, more status, more pleasure. And the more they chase, the more restless they become. Because desire never ends. You achieve one thing and immediately want another. There is no peace in this cycle, only endless pursuit. But a Stoic breaks this cycle. They simplify, they reduce, they control. And in doing so, they find something rare, contentment. Now listen carefully. Controlling desire does not mean you stop aiming high. It means you stop depending on outcomes for your peace. You still work, you still grow, you still improve, but you are not desperate. Desperation is weakness because it makes you reactive, impulsive, emotional. But discipline creates control. Let me give you an example. You want success. Most people become obsessed. They rush, they compare, they panic if results don't come fast. But the Stoic, they work consistently. They stay patient. They trust the process. Because they are not controlled by the desire for immediate results. They control the desire. This is the difference. Now understand this. Every desire comes with a cost. The more you want something, the more power it has over you. If you want respect, disrespect will hurt you. If you want recognition, being ignored will affect you. If you want comfort, discomfort will break you. So ask yourself, is this desire worth the control it has over me? This question creates awareness, and awareness creates freedom. A Stoic constantly evaluates their desires. They ask, do I need this or do I just want it? And most of the time, it's just a want. And wants can be controlled. Let me make this simple. If you can't go without it, you are controlled by it, whether it's attention, comfort, validation, or success. If you depend on it, it owns you. But if you can walk away, you own it. This is power. Now imagine your life with controlled desires. You are calm, focused, unshaken. Because nothing external has power over you. You act by choice, not by craving. You move with discipline, not desperation. And that changes everything. From this moment forward, start observing your desires. Notice what you crave. Notice what controls your mood. Notice what you feel you need. And question it. Reduce it. Control it. Because the goal is not to have everything. The goal is not to need everything. Repeat this one last time. Desire is a leash, and freedom belongs to those who can break it.
Listen carefully. Most people are easy to read, not because they are simple, but because they are predictable. Press the right button, and they react. Say the right words, and they get triggered. Create the right situation, and they lose control. This is how manipulation works. Understand this clearly. Predictable reactions make you controllable. Repeat that. Predictable reactions make you controllable. If people know how you will respond, they can control your behavior. If they know you get angry easily, they will provoke you. If they know you seek approval, they will withhold it. If they know you fear rejection, they will use it against you, and you won't even realize it, because your reactions are automatic. This is the problem. Most people don't choose how they react. They default. Emotion rises, and they follow it. No pause, no awareness, no control, just reaction. A Stoic is different. They are not predictable, not because they are chaotic, but because they are controlled. Their reactions are not automatic, they are chosen, and that makes them uncontrollable. Let me say this clearly. When you control your reactions, you break other people's expectations. And when expectations break, manipulation fails. Imagine this. Someone tries to provoke you. They expect anger. They expect emotion. They expect a reaction. But instead, you stay calm. No response. No change in expression. No shift in energy. Now what happens? They lose control because their strategy no longer works. This is power. You don't fight back. You don't argue. You simply refuse to react as expected. And that alone changes everything. Now, listen carefully. Unpredictability does not mean randomness. It means you are not driven by emotion. Your reactions are not automatic. They are intentional. Sometimes you speak. Sometimes you stay silent. Sometimes you act. Sometimes you wait. But always you choose. This is the difference. Most people react based on feelings. A Stoic responds based on strategy. Let me give you an example. Someone criticizes you. The predictable reaction? Defend yourself, explain, argue. But the Stoic? Sometimes they say nothing. Sometimes they agree calmly. Sometimes they walk away. Not because they are weak, but because they are in control. And that unpredictability makes them impossible to manipulate. Now understand this. People test you. Consciously or unconsciously, they observe your reactions. They see what triggers you, what affects you, what controls you. And once they learn it, they use it. But if your reactions are controlled, if they are calm, if they are not obvious, then there is nothing to use. No leverage, no weakness. This is why emotional control is not just internal strength, it is external protection. Let me say this again. If no one can predict your reaction, no one can control your behavior. Now imagine your life like this. No one can provoke you. No one can manipulate your emotions. No one can push you into reaction. You remain steady, always. This is what it means to be untouchable. But this requires discipline, because your natural instinct is to react, to defend, to explain, to prove, and you must resist that. You must pause, observe, choose, every time. Let me give you a simple rule. Never give an immediate reaction. Delay it, even for a few seconds, because in that delay, you regain control, and control is everything. Now here is something deeper. Unpredictability creates respect, because people cannot figure you out. They don't know how you will respond. They don't know what affects you. They don't know how to control you. So they become careful, and that changes how they treat you. Not because you demanded respect, but because your control created it. This is silent power. No noise, no aggression, no force, just control. From this moment forward, stop reacting automatically. Break the pattern. If you usually argue, stay silent. If you usually react emotionally, stay calm. If you usually explain, say less. Disrupt your own habits, because your old reactions are your weaknesses, and your new control is your strength. Repeat this one last time. Predictable reactions make you controllable, and power belongs to those who cannot be predicted.
Listen carefully. Most people are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they are focused on the wrong things. They worry about opinions. They stress about outcomes. They obsess over situations that they cannot control. And because of that, they feel powerless. Understand this clearly. If it's not in your control, it's not your problem. Repeat that. If it's not in your control, it's not your problem. But most people ignore this. They try to control everything. What others think, what others do, what will happen next. And in doing so, They lose control of the only thing that matters, themselves. This is the trap. You cannot control the world, but you can control your response to it. A Stoic understands this deeply. They divide life into two parts, what they can control and what they cannot, and they focus only on what they can control. This is clarity. Let me break it down. You cannot control other people's opinions, other people's actions, unexpected events, outcomes. But you can control your thoughts, your actions, your effort, your response. This is where your power lives. Let me say this clearly. Your energy should only go where your control exists. Anything else is waste. Think about how much time you spend worrying. What if this happens? What do they think about me? What if I fail? None of these thoughts change reality, but they drain your focus. They weaken your mind. They create anxiety without producing results. A Stoic cuts this off. They don't entertain useless thoughts. They ask one simple question: can I control this? If the answer is no, they let it go. Immediately. No overthinking, no emotional attachment, no wasted energy. Just release. This is discipline. Because letting go is not easy. Your mind wants control, even over things it cannot control. But that illusion creates suffering. Now imagine the opposite. You focus only on your actions, your effort, your decisions. Everything else becomes background noise. And suddenly, your mind becomes clear. Your energy becomes focused. Your actions become stronger. This is the Stoic advantage. Let me give you an example. You are working toward a goal. Most people focus on the result. Will I succeed? What if I fail? What will people say? But these are not in your control. So what happens? They get distracted. They lose focus. They hesitate. But the Stoic, they ignore the outcome. They focus on the work. What can I do today? How can I improve? What action matters now? And because of that, they progress. This is the difference. Now understand something deeper. Trying to control what you cannot control creates frustration, because no matter how hard you try, you will fail. And that failure creates stress. But focusing on what you can control creates confidence, because every action you take is within your power. This builds momentum, and momentum builds success. Let me make this simple. Control your actions, release everything else. This is the formula, and it works in every situation. Someone disrespects you. You cannot control their behavior, but you can control your response. You fail at something. You cannot change the past, but you can control what you do next. Life throws challenges at you. You cannot stop them, but you can control how you handle them. This is where strength comes from, not from controlling everything, but from controlling yourself. Now listen carefully. This habit will remove most of your stress, because stress comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. The moment you stop doing that, you become lighter, more focused, more calm, because your energy is no longer scattered, it is directed. And directed energy creates results. From this moment forward, ask yourself this question in every situation. Is this in my control? If yes, act. If no, release it. No hesitation, no overthinking, just clarity. Because clarity creates power. Repeat this one last time. If it's not in your control, it's not your problem. And power belongs to those who focus only on what they can control.
Listen carefully. Most people fear loss because they never prepare for it. They assume things will last forever, their success, their relationships, their comfort. And when something is taken away, they break. Not because loss is unbearable, but because they were unprepared. Understand this clearly. Fear comes from unpreparedness. Repeat that. Fear comes from unpreparedness. A Stoic does something different. They don't ignore the possibility of loss. They face it, in their mind, before it happens. This is called negative visualization, and it is one of the most powerful mental tools you will ever use. Let me explain. Instead of imagining only success, you imagine failure. Instead of assuming things will go right, you consider what could go wrong. Not to become negative, but to become ready. Because readiness eliminates fear. Imagine this. You have something valuable. Your work, your progress, your position. Most people cling to it. They assume it will stay. But the Stoic? They imagine losing it. They ask, what if this disappears? What if I fail? What if everything changes? And in that moment, they prepare. Mentally, emotionally, strategically. So if it actually happens, they are not shocked. They are ready. Let me say this clearly. The shock of loss is worse than the loss itself, and negative visualization removes the shock, because you have already faced it in your mind. Now, listen carefully. Most people avoid thinking about bad outcomes. They say, I don't want to think negatively. I don't want to attract bad things. But this is not weakness. This is avoidance. And avoidance creates vulnerability. Because what you avoid will eventually confront you. And when it does, you won't be ready. A Stoic does not avoid reality. They prepare for it. They understand everything is temporary. Your success, your possessions, your relationships, your position. None of it is guaranteed. And accepting this creates strength, not fear. Because now you are not attached blindly. You are aware, prepared, steady. Let me give you a powerful shift. Instead of fearing loss, train for it. Imagine losing something important. Then ask, what would I respond? What would I do next? How would I rebuild? This creates clarity, and clarity removes panic. Because panic comes from uncertainty, but preparation creates certainty. Now, understand this. Negative visualization also builds gratitude. When you imagine losing something, you start to appreciate it more. Your time, your opportunities, your progress. Because you realize it is not permanent. And this awareness changes how you live. You stop taking things for granted. You become more present, more focused, more intentional. This is another form of strength. Let me say this clearly. When you accept that things can be lost, you stop fearing their loss. And when fear disappears, you become free. Now imagine your life like this. Failure does not scare you. Loss does not break you. Change does not shake you, because you have already faced it mentally. So when it actually happens in reality, you respond calmly. This is what makes Stoics unshakable, not because life is easy, but because they are prepared. Let me make this simple. Prepare, don't panic. Again, prepare, don't panic. Because panic is a reaction, preparation is control, and control is power. From this moment forward, train your mind.
Do not only imagine success, imagine challenge, imagine loss, imagine failure. Not to weaken yourself, but to strengthen your response. Because the goal is not to avoid difficulty. The goal is to be ready for it. And when you are ready, nothing can surprise you. Nothing can shake you. Nothing can break you. Repeat this one last time. Prepare, don't panic. And strength belongs to those who are ready before life tests them.
You've heard the habits, but hearing is not enough, because knowledge without execution is useless. Right now, you have two choices. You can go back to reacting, to seeking approval, to being controlled by emotions. Or you can decide today to become different, to pause when others react, to stay silent when others argue, to remain calm when others break. This is not easy. It was never meant to be easy. But this is what separates the weak from the untouchable. So here is your challenge. For the next 24 hours, control every reaction, every word, every emotion. No excuses. Because the moment you control yourself is the moment the world loses control over you.